Jews created, sponsored, and shaped the core architecture of American law across multiple domains. These laws function as Goy law. Goy law consists of statutes imposed on Gentiles, white, European-descended Americans, through sustained Jewish advocacy, drawing directly from Talmudic principles and Jewish ethical frameworks. The laws receive public justification as vehicles for reform, equality, and protection, yet operate to regulate speech, association, labor, family structure, demographics, and thought of the host population. Jewish principles such as Lashon Hara, restraints on harmful speech, stranger justice, and Tikkun Olam supplied the conceptual foundation, while organizational persistence, drafting, and lobbying translated these ideas into federal and state statutes. The resulting legal network expanded into an interlocking system of controls that steers American society in directions aligned with Jewish group interests. The pattern appears consistently from the Reconstruction era through the 20th and 21st centuries. Jewish participation provided the decisive sponsorship and intellectual impetus that produced the specific forms, timing, and expansions of these measures. Without that involvement, the laws would not have coalesced into their present, sprawling, interconnected form. Talmudic distinctions and diaspora survival strategies informed the advocacy that embedded subjective enforcement mechanisms, selective application, and practical carve-outs, benefiting Jewish communal defense. Each statute began with protective rhetoric, yet delivered expanded state power over Gentile autonomy, economic freedom, and cultural continuity. This constitutes Goy law as a distinct category of legislation crafted by one group for application to another. Goy law extends beyond isolated statutes into a comprehensive governance layer. Defamation, harassment, anti-discrimination, hate, crime, immigration, labor, and family laws all exhibit the same structure of ostensible benevolence, masking regulatory control. Later anti-Semitism measures further entrenched speech and educational mandates. The entire body of law reflects Jewish religious imperatives applied to the American host society. These imperatives include chosenness, communal responsibility, and ethical standards imposed on Gentiles. The outcome is a transformed legal environment in which white Gentiles navigate rules originated and sustained through Jewish initiative. Immigration laws as demographic Goy law. Jewish organizations including AJC, ADL, and HIS opposed the 1917 Immigration Act, the 1921 Emergency Quota Act, and the 1924 Johnson-Reed Act. They fought national origins quotas that preserved European demographic balance. Emanuel Celler sponsored the 1965 Hart-Celler Act that abolished quotas and installed family reunification preferences. This shift triggered chain migration, demographic upheaval, wage suppression, and border invasions. Jewish lobbying provided the tenacity that dismantled restrictions and engineered population change, favoring non-European inflows. The Displaced Persons Act of 1948 and opposition to the 1952 McCarran-Walter Act continued the pattern of resistance to ethnic preservation. Jewish groups maintained consistent pressure against any system that prioritized the existing American population composition. Hart-Celler produced the transformation from a European-descended majority to rapid minority status. Goy law and immigration altered the host society's ethnic composition under humanitarian rhetoric. The laws created resource overload, trust erosion, and sovereignty loss for white Gentiles. Later expansions built on the 1965 foundation through hemispheric caps and refugee adjustments. Jewish sponsorship ensured the system developed into an engine of demographic replacement. These immigration measures steer America toward pluralism that benefits visible minorities and dilutes Gentile cultural and political dominance. The entire regime constitutes demographic Goy law that operates as a deliberate mechanism for population engineering. The sequence of opposition and reform demonstrates sustained Jewish commitment to removing ethnic safeguards. Every major restriction faced Jewish organizational resistance, while liberalization received full sponsorship and lobbying. This produced a legal framework that systematically reduced the white Gentile share of the population. Goy law in the immigration domain functions without reversal mechanisms and expands through administrative interpretations. The laws achieve the outcome of demographic dilution while claiming humanitarian intent derived from Jewish ethical traditions. This body of legislation stands as one of the clearest expressions of Goy law applied to the host society's future composition. Civil rights and anti-discrimination laws as Association Goy law. Jewish attorneys and groups participated in drafting the 1964 Civil Rights Act at the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. They lobbied through the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights and shaped Title VII EOC mechanisms. Subsequent laws, including the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the 1967 Age Discrimination Act, the 1968 Fair Housing Act, and the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act expanded the framework. These statutes destroy voluntary association, merit-based decisions, and colorblind principles for white Gentiles through disparate impact rules and affirmative action. Jewish drafting and lobbying produced the architecture of reverse discrimination and bureaucratic enforcement that regulates every sphere of social and economic life. The laws embed group protections that shield Jewish overrepresentation while restricting Gentile hiring, housing, and interaction freedoms. Jewish ethical universalism supplied the justification while practical outcomes favor minority networks. Goy law here regulates social and economic choices under equality pretexts. The measures create resentment and stigmatization that justify further controls. Expansions through the 1987 Civil Rights Restoration Act and 1991 Civil Rights Act strengthen remedies and institutional reach. The full anti-discrimination complex operates as Association Goy law that steers Gentile behavior into state-approved diversity patterns. The entire system enforces association controls that prevent white Gentiles from maintaining natural preferences in employment, neighborhoods, and institutions. Jewish participation ensured the laws developed into a comprehensive network with self-reinforcing enforcement bodies and ever-widening definitions of discrimination. Goy law in this domain eliminates freedom of contract and freedom of association for the host population while preserving practical advantages for Jewish communal structures. The legislation transforms voluntary society into a managed system of mandated integration and diversity. This framework originated in Jewish advocacy and remains sustained through the same networks that first shaped its core provisions. Speech bias and hate crime laws as Expression Goy law. Talmudic prohibitions on lashon hara and inflammatory speech directly informed Jewish advocacy for defamation harassment and incitement controls. The Anti-Defamation League developed model statutes for the 1990 Hate Crime Statistics Act and the 2009 Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. These laws criminalize motive, thought, and expression through penalty enhancements and federal tracking systems that prioritize anti-Semitism. Group libel proposals and IHRA definition adoptions extend the regulatory framework into campus environments and educational institutions. The measures create subjective standards that punish Gentile expression while shielding Jewish communal narratives from scrutiny. Executive Order 13899 and subsequent anti-Semitism initiatives enforce hostile environment doctrines and mandated educational programs. These tools chill political, historical, and identity-based discourse among white Gentiles. Goy law in the speech domain operates through selective enforcement that advances Jewish group defense and suppresses challenges to Jewish influence. Harassment, stalking, and incitement statutes regulate normal human interaction and persistence, turning everyday communication into potential violations. The full network derived from Jewish speech ethics produces a comprehensive system of expression control that steers public discourse away from topics threatening Jewish interests. The bias and hate crime apparatus forms a core pillar of Goy law by criminalizing thought and motive beyond base offenses. Jewish organizations supplied the drafting, lobbying, and persistent advocacy that embedded these mechanisms into federal and state codes. The laws impose subjective harm thresholds that favor certain protected groups while constraining white Gentile political and cultural expression. This expression Goy law maintains narrative dominance and prevents open examination of Jewish influence in American society. Family laws as domestic Goy law, halakhic get processes, and child welfare traditions shaped the 1969 California no-fault divorce law and the subsequent best interests custody standards that spread across the nation. These reforms produced elevated divorce rates, family contention, massive financial burdens, and widespread instability for Gentile households. The laws destabilize marriages through irreconcilable differences provisions and subjective judicial interventions that favor adversarial proceedings over reconciliation. Jewish concepts of contractual consent and child priority provided the doctrinal foundation for these mechanisms that erode traditional family authority. Goy law in family matters controls marriage dissolution, child-rearing arrangements, and post-divorce financial obligations under the rhetoric of welfare and modernization. The measures generate psychological damage, lower educational achievement, and intergenerational cycles of instability among white families. No-fault systems and joint custody presumptions impose lifelong economic controls and split parental authority in ways that weaken paternal bonds and fragment household structures. The domestic legal framework steers Gentiles toward state-mediated relationships and away from stable, independent family units. Jewish contractual models from Halakha supplied the intellectual template for these reforms that transformed American domestic relations. The resulting system regulates private life through adversarial courts, financial mandates, and subjective best interest determinations. This domestic Goy law disrupts Gentile family cohesion and replaces organic social bonds with state oversight derived from Jewish principles applied to the host population. The laws ensure continued intervention in white family structures while presenting the changes as progressive advancements. Labor and employment laws as economic Goy law. Jewish-led unions, such as the ILGW, supplied the organizing energy that produced the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 and the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. Torah mandates on fair wages, rest, and protections for the vulnerable drove minimum wage overtime and child labor prohibitions. These laws restrict Gentile adult labor freedom, limit hours and earnings, price out low-skilled workers, and create multiple job burdens. Jewish immigrant activism translated religious economic ethics into secular statutes that entrench state and union control over work. The legislation regulates Gentile economic accumulation, while Jewish networks maintained parallel advantages. The Wagner Act protected union organizing and collective bargaining in ways that advanced Jewish organizational power within the labor movement. The FLSA imposed hour caps and wage floors that hinder voluntary contracts and raise business costs. These measures ostensibly safeguard workers, yet control the amount of money Gentiles can earn and accumulate. Goy law in the employment domain limits training opportunities for youth and minorities and blocks independent economic pathways. The laws create rigidity that favors bureaucratic oversight over individual agency. Subsequent amendments and expansions reinforced the initial framework. Jewish contributions ensured the labor regime developed into a comprehensive system of hour regulation, wage mandates, and child protections derived from Torah principles. The result is a legal structure that steers Gentile labor into state-approved channels and prevents unrestricted accumulation. This economic Goy law operates under worker welfare language while delivering control over productivity and earnings. Reconstruction Amendments as foundational Goy law. The Reconstruction Amendments established the constitutional basis for subsequent Goy law. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery with a criminal punishment exception that enabled new forms of control. The 14th Amendment imposed birthright citizenship, due process, and equal protection clauses that expanded federal authority and created citizenship loopholes exploited through anchor strategies. The 15th Amendment forced voting rights without cultural prerequisites. Jewish ethical universalism and Northern support accelerated these equality frameworks that produced permanent racial division, resentment, welfare dependency, and diluted host population cohesion. These amendments shifted power centrally and sowed seeds of identity-based litigation that grew into broader regulatory structures. Civil Rights Acts of 1866 and 1871 enforced the amendments through federal lawsuits and conspiracy provisions. These measures applied Jewish concepts of justice to post-slavery society in ways that integrated incompatible groups without preparation. The resulting disruptions included higher crime, lower social trust, and endless grievances that justified further interventions. Goy law originated here as law for Gentiles that altered demographic and political realities under equality rhetoric. The amendments and enforcement acts created the legal infrastructure later used to expand controls over association and expression. The Reconstruction framework demonstrated the pattern of Jewish principled input, producing host population management tools. Birthright citizenship invited infiltration and demographic insertion techniques. Voting expansions enabled manipulated electorates and identity politics. These outcomes steered America away from European-descended continuity toward pluralism that favored minority influence. The amendments stand as the originating Goy law documents that set the trajectory for all later developments. Anti-Semitism measures as narrative Goy law. Post-2009 laws and orders, including the Combating European Anti-Semitism Act, Executive Order 13899, the Never Again Education Act, and IHRA adoptions codify definitions that blur criticism with bias. These measures mandate Holocaust education, campus investigations, and speech monitoring. Jewish organizations drove their passage and implementation to protect communal interests. The laws create hostile environment standards that treat certain political speech and historical analysis as actionable discrimination. Federal agencies apply IHRA examples to investigate protests, curricula, and public statements. This regulatory apparatus extends Talmudic speech restraints into American educational and policy institutions. The laws enforce narratives and restrict protest under protection language. They regulate Gentile historical interpretation and political speech concerning Jewish topics. Goy law here secures dominance over discourse by equating policy criticism with hatred. Executive actions direct Title VI enforcement to prioritize anti-Semitism complaints. State adoptions of IHRA definitions amplify the framework across public schools and universities. These mechanisms produce self-censorship among white Gentiles who navigate vague boundaries around acceptable expression. State adoptions and ongoing bills reinforce the federal pattern. The measures complete the Goy law system by securing narrative dominance. Jewish sponsorship ensures continuous expansion through grants, task forces, and reporting requirements. The full apparatus transforms public institutions into enforcers of approved memory and limits challenges to Jewish influence. Goy law operates as narrative control that steers national conversation while maintaining the appearance of combating prejudice. This domain finalizes the integration of speech regulation into every level of American life. Conclusion: Goy law exposed. Goy law encompasses the full spectrum of American legal development from Reconstruction through contemporary anti-Semitism measures. Jewish creation sponsorship and Talmudic justification produced this network of controls over Gentile society. The laws operate under reform, equality, and protection rhetoric while delivering regulation of speech, labor, family, demographics, and thought. Each domain exhibits the same structure of ostensible benevolence, masking ulterior steering of the host population. From the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments through Hart-Celler immigration reforms and ADL hate crime statutes, the pattern remains constant. Jewish principles supplied the ethical blueprint and organizational drive that made the system possible. The result is a transformed America governed by Goy law in which white Gentiles follow rules originated and sustained through Jewish influence. Labor statutes limit economic freedom, anti-discrimination measures destroy voluntary association. Family laws destabilize domestic structures, and speech codes police thought and memory. Immigration Goy law alters demographic foundations, while hate crime enhancements criminalize motive. The entire body of law represents the application of diaspora strategies to the American context, an enduring reality of group-crafted legislation imposed on the majority. This interconnected web grows through amendments, executive orders, and state adoptions without effective opposition. Goy law stands as the operative legal order that shapes American existence. Jewish initiative translated Talmudic concepts of speech, restraint, stranger justice, and world repair into statutes that bind the Gentile population. The laws achieve control over association earnings, family cohesion, historical narrative, and political expression. White, European-descended Americans live under this framework that advances particular interests under universalist language. The system demonstrates complete integration of Jewish-derived governance into the host society across every major domain of law. This constitutes the definitive structure of power and regulation in the United States.